o'clock. Call the meeting to order. It's August 12th. We'll start with topics from the floor. Mr. Toskey,
Oh, yes,
if you want to speak.
I do. Thank you. On a problem.
Okay.
Oh, so, Parks and Trails, my favorite commission. So, thank you all for your wonderful work you're doing. Steve Toskey, Citizen Helens, and Robin Toskey, my wife, came to address you all regarding the urban trail, first and foremost, which I've walked every inch of more than once, and thank you all very much for putting that together. We're huge supporters of the urban trail. And part of that urban trail runs right by our house at 215 North River Street. And in particular, we came today to talk about the request for the signage grant for the Unfest Cliff. And also to congratulate you on the grant for the award, signage award. So, I think that the best way to come about this is to say that we live up on 215 North River, and a lot of people walk by there and they look at the magnificent view of the confluence between the Columbia River, the Lake River, East River. It's a spot that people walk by, many people, old, young. And so I think inclusion of that, so right now it's a road. And it's a street, and there's a trail that goes along the cliff that people can access and go down the cliff there. And I think there's a concern that if we expand the use of that into a urban trail, now we've designated as something, we've invited people to come on there. There's a concern that maybe we should be warning people about the fact that there are cliffs ahead, something like that. And we have, first of all, we're as concerned as anybody else regarding safety of the public, and we understand the potential risks of walking off the cliff, because there's some cliffs there. We don't think it's necessary to be putting a sign up, and I think that probably there'd be better use for the money or the sign grant to be thinking about different places along the way of the urban trail. I am an attorney. I'm licensed in Oregon, and I looked up the laws regarding liability and duties of the public regarding recreational uses. And Oregon actually has a very strong law. I was going to bring it, but I'm juggling with a whole bunch of stuff. Oregon has a very strong law protecting public entities concerning recreational uses of property, completely immunized. So I think that, and there was recently a case where a judge ruled that a bridge was too slippery and somebody slipped, and the judge allowed a lawsuit to go forward against a public entity. And then what happened was the insurance carriers for the public entity said, we're going to cancel all of your insurances because of this loophole in the community laws. And then a lot of cities started to shut down their public trails. So we started going backwards in a hurry as far as public trails in Oregon are concerned because of that ruling. And Governor Kotek, along with cooperative group of the legislature, passed a law which then said that walking was a recreational use, because apparently the judge said they didn't know walking was a recreational use. And so that emergency measure was passed, and it really has, which expires in 2026. But for now, it's absolutely recreational use of any property, any public property or private property open for public use is, there's no lawsuits, no immunity. So there's no duty to warn, there's no need to warn. So when you think about, do we need to warn about cliffs ahead? And I think these are open and obvious things, and I think in Oregon, we expect people to walk off of cliffs, and we're not talking about driving, we're not talking about a guardrail, we're talking about people who are walking up there for our urban trail walking. Do we need to warn? Do we need to put in Spanish, English, etc.? And honestly, yeah, I've talked to Jerry, and he'll probably, I don't wanna, I tell you this, I understand Jerry's concern about. Well, we invite people up there, and if a child should go off the cliff. We might feel badly, okay? And so the law says we're not liable for that. We don't have to, it's a recreational use. We don't have to protect against that. We don't have to protect against it. And so the question, I think that the bigger question is, number one, I don't think a sign will help, and I think it might cause more problems than it solves. Because I think you don't have to warn of open and obvious things. And do we print it in English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean? Do we have this sign up there warning about cliffs ahead when we know they're there? So I don't think a sign is the answer. I think that the law is sufficient. We don't need to do anything. And one of the discussion items perhaps, do we want to even think about putting some kind of a barrier up there? And I did take a look at some things that they've done in Carmel, some other places where you have kind of scenic views, where they have good fences up, and there are options that can continue to preserve the views. And then they're kind of an indicator, like it's gonna prevent the kid from just running off the cliff, because you got a wild kid, you know, it's gonna. We haven't had anybody go off the cliff, but if there's a real concern, probably talk potentially something up there that would indicator, so a parent would see something, say, hey, don't stay away from there, or not, we don't have to do anything. Anyway, I'm just saying that as much as I think sign may be a good idea for it. And I think Robin, I want to speak for you, that Robin would be okay with that sort of thing.
Would be okay with the fence that didn't, I mean, the view, really comes above a few feet, so I wouldn't advocate a tall fence, but I was a mom and have that anxiety when the toddlers are over there, but people do keep an eye on their kids, and most of the time walking, it's adult, most of the time. And I guess the sign for us, like for me, if we think it's enough of a hazard and we're still making it an urban trail and we're announcing that it's a dangerous place, it's kind of causing more harm than good. Like, we know it's dangerous, there's a cliff, but come on up, and as opposed to just, if it's like we go with the Oregon statute and the new law that was passed a few years ago, it's an obvious risk.
A lot of things are obvious. I don't see,
Yeah, walking along a creek, walking along.
I don't see a problem with the sign. I think, the more signage we have, the better. It's just like my word. We have signs that say, don't stick your hand in the machine, you might lose your fingers. But no one's sticking their hands in the machine because we know. It's
Jacob,
hard to have a sign.
you're supposed to be just letting them. speak,
Oh, yeah,
so.
okay.
That's
but,
all right.
Okay,
We-
well,
you got
we
another
let us
minute.
along.
When
Yeah.
you're talking about Milton Creek, and so that's a creek side, and are we gonna say, no lifeguard on duty? Is there gonna be a sign there? And you can kind of put signs up everywhere, and I mean, that's for you guys to decide. But my thinking is, if there's a super concern, there are ways to build very, very low impact barriers that would then be sort of a visual indicator. Just walking up to the edge and wondering, in case people have unattended children or something. We don't have to do it. But that is something that can be done. And also on the urban trail thing too, I will say this to the group that, and I've said this to Scott, that we are willing to help You know, there's some, desire to put stairs there by that tree. And kind of put a railing there and help connect that down there, we're willing to help. With donations to help facilitate that. Talk to some people, so. Got nothing more to say, do we? Do you have anything else? Thank you. all.
You have other folks?
Can we comment on that?
We'll comment when it comes up for your agenda item.
I guess now's the time to speak on things.
Yeah, state your name and where you're from.
My name is Zach Sylvester. I live here in town at 110 Goodman Lane, over by Campbell Park. So that's actually, I'm here for the Campbell Park softball net. I am the one who actually lives on the other side of that net. So just since we bought the house over there, on Goodman Lane, we've kind of noticed that, that's been deteriorating for a while. It's never been up on our side. And kind of, I know softball season, you guys go and hit the balls against the fence. I'm totally fine with it. I don't know if I see the St. Helens baseball. I'm not sure if you
No, I
coach
know.
any of the girls'
No,
leagues.
I know Campbell Field though.
So not too sure what can be done. How it can be done, what needs to be done on my end kind of thing, but I'd like to just kind of try and start that process. So possibly getting it repaired and get put back up,
Good.
so.
Anything?
I mean,
Want me to reply to this or you want me to wait? I mean,
I think
I'm
it's
happy
not on
with
the
it.
agenda, so
I just went and looked at it because I saw it on the agenda.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's been up forever, it hasn't been replaced, you're correct, and it's deteriorating. Looked into prices of a new one. Talked to both softball leagues, they don't recall having any issues with homeowners that have lived there, which is good. We want to keep it that way. Went and talked to our insurance agent and not really a liability for us, but it is in this kind of area. His thoughts were, how much is the net? I priced the net, roughly it's gonna be $2,000. Then you'll have a hassle. So our plan right now, what we're thinking is to try to get in there this summer, league's starting again, so. We're thinking maybe Labor Day holiday, they don't have any games, try to get in there with our man lift. Stitch it up as good as we can for now, look into our budget, and maybe at the end of this softball season, before the rainy weather hits, getting in there with our man lift again. And installing a new one, that's our goal.
Okay.
And the big thing is getting in there before the rain hits, because it's really soft, and we tried to get in there 2 years ago and we sunk a PUD truck out there, so we had 3 foot. So
Yeah, I don't know if there was an irrigation issue out there, but.
there
it
still
stays
is a
wet.
small one, it's, yeah.
It stays wet constantly, so I totally get that, and I'm in no rush. I've
No, I
definitely
appreciate you
outside
putting it
on
on
the
the
radar
radar.
with softballs in my yard. Never had an issue with windows or anything like that.
Okay.
But I just kind of wanted to bring it attention to
Yeah.
before we had an issue.
I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Yeah, so do you, yeah.
No,
You didn't get to talk about urban trail.
yeah, well, I think that I should get to say what I want to say. You know, Robin and Steve are here, and so should they stick around for, another hour and a half or so. Well, Steve and I. Don't mind. Say.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thanks, Nick.
Well, it's fresh in our minds. I think it'd probably take about 5 minutes. Okay.
we can move it up if everybody's in agreement.
Okay. Hey, thanks, guys. So Steve and I have talked about this a lot of times. So, I mean, we're on opposite sides kind of, but not really. So when we first did the urban trail, one of the suggestions was we found this sign that says caution unfenced cliff. It's actually a sign you can buy. And when we first put the urban trail in, it did go along the cliff. And then after giving it a lot of thought, we moved it across the street, right in front of Steve's house and along there. Walking is the #1 recreational activity in the United States when they've done studies, so it is #1. I don't agree with, so first of all, my point is there should be a barrier there. If there's a barrier there, we don't need a fence. And I know that Robin in particular, I think I'm putting words in her mouth. I know that she would feel better if there was a barrier there.
from what you said here, and we had a brief little talk before. And I'm good with that too, you know, and I think the barrier should be, you know, it should be safe. You know, safety, number one, so people don't go over, and it should be very attractive. And like Steve said, you know, I have a painting in my room of that viewpoint. He copied mine. He has one in his house that's very similar. It is the nicest viewpoint between, my opinion, between Portland and Astoria. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. But I don't agree with one thing he said. It's I mean, let's just say that the urban trail wasn't involved in this. You know, I was talking to the city council, and I have talked to people in the city about this, not in regards to the urban trail. If this was a federal road or a state road, I would be willing to put money on it that there would be a barrier along there. And as you guys have all said, I mean, I'm real sensitive about this because I've been told that 3 people have gone off the cliff. One back in the 50s, Doug Morton told me that. One a few years ago that was intoxicated but he went off the side at the top of the cliff. But since then, what's happened is it's been cleaned off. And before, you'd go down maybe 20, 30 feet and you would hit this talus, this rock that would go off, and there was blackberries there. You fell off, you know, you'd probably get injured pretty bad, but you'd hit these blackberry bushes, you'd hit this stuff and you'd be beat the heck and maybe have a broken arm. But now it's like a 50-foot drop off and there's asphalt at the bottom. And like I said before, I'm real sensitive about this because I live at 215 North 2nd Street. I'm working in my garage one day. A lady just started screaming, "My baby, my baby, my baby." And her car had rolled off the cliff. Luckily, she had left her door open. She had left the baby in the car. As the pickup went off the cliff, this is before 9/11, when the car went off the cliff, we didn't know this at the time when it happened, the baby slid out of the front seat, landed on a ledge that was about, I don't know, 20 feet down. No 911. So I went down, the car's way down at the bottom. This is before 2nd Street even went through. All it was a little path through 2nd Street. We're talking 1975, I think. It's lucky that that child did not get killed. Dr. Ackerson had a lot of pull in this town. And within a very short period of time, I think less than a month, there was a barrier there, you know, car stop, you know. And it ends at 1st Street, right where River Street starts. I'm talking if we didn't. I think that if someone falls off that cliff, since there's been 3 people fall off of it, I think the city would be totally liable. I'm not talking about the trail because the trail, you know, is protected, but 3 people have fallen off this. Luckily, 1 person didn't get killed. And I've had 1 city person very high in the city say, this needs a barrier. You know, this needs a barrier. Regardless if it's the urban trail or not, some kid in his bicycle, roller skates, scooter, someone's gonna back off that cliff. During the fireworks in the next 30, 40 years, someone's gonna fall off that cliff. When they do, the city, in my opinion, is going to be liable because there's a road that goes by it. I would, as far as the sign is concerned, if there's a barrier there, we don't need a sign. You know what I mean? But my gut feeling all along, and the way I feel about it, there should be a barrier there. Just like Dr. Ackerson, as soon as his stepdaughter's child went off, his grandson, you know, he complained to the city and it was just like that. And we're lucky that no one got killed when that happened. I think the city has a responsibility to put a barrier up along that cliff. Because there's a road there. I mean, granted, there are lots of other cliffs in the town too, but they're not right next to a road where people are walking all the time, where kids are on roller skates, you know, boards, scooters, So I am pretty passionate about that. And as far as the sign, Steve, Robin, you know, if there's a barrier there, and I think the barrier should be one that the neighborhood, it shouldn't be something that you know, that takes away from the neighborhood. Okay, I'm done ranting.
Yeah, we already done with,
I have one thing.
no, we were done with.
I have a question though.
Testify.
So say, cause I agree full heartedly. Considering the cost and time that it would take to get a barrier put in place. Would you, or would it be a possibility to consider a less intrusive sign temporarily for the sake of safety while we wait to put in a barrier that would be, that would meet those?
And my opinion's been that, you know, the majority rules.
Mhm.
And the way the majority of the people feels. You know. And then people obviously have a right to say, hey, I don't agree with this. But I think that when you have a majority, the city, you know, the city's gonna make this decision. You know, I think it's, you know, I'm good with whatever decision they make, but at least people know how at least how I feel, and I know how some other people feel.
I think it's beyond our purview for.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. If
Barrier.
this was not an urban trail, there still should be a barrier there.
I've always been afraid that on a dark, foggy, rainy night, something would drive off.
Can we just say that we're gonna look into the liability of this trail and we'll talk to engineering, we'll talk to our insurance people, we'll talk to our lawyer. I'm not saying that you're not correct. And then we can retouch on this. We spent 21 minutes already. We don't have a lot of time. So I think that's the next route to go, would be talk to people that are smarter than me and go from there, and we can get it back on the agenda soon.
Thank you for letting me speak.
We need to get onto the IGA because we have somebody hanging on, I believe. But
Thank you for coming. Keep up the good work.
thanks.
Trail, delivering trail.
Before we do that, if we could say, we don't have any minutes for this to look at. I would suggest going forward that we just rather than relitigate what is done in the past, just say that agree to the minutes and are letting the minutes without any type of corrections or any type of thing with them. And then if you have a problem with it, just have a vote against it during the minutes when we vote on it. Because if we get into that, we're gonna start rehashing things, and I think it's not gonna be productive. But that's for another time. So let's go with the Scappoose Council, the IGA renewal. This with Taylor Teal to give us presentation on.
Yeah, I'm here for the IGA. I put a little PowerPoint together just to go over, what we've done over this last year that I'll share from my screen. And yeah, and then if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask whatever. Let's see.
So you're asking us for questions right now?
No, I have a PowerPoint I'm gonna show. I've just gotta get it set up real quick. All right, so my computer is telling me I'm gonna have to hop out of Zoom real fast and rejoin you guys. Is that gonna be okay if you just give me a quick second to do that?
That's fine.
Oh, so maybe when you cut off. Okay. I'm gonna make you host again. And
Okay.
then you'll be able to share your screen, but if for some reason you need to get off, if you could just make us host again.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me.
Brandon there.
Brandon Bell.
Okay, you should be a host now.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna open this up and are you guys able to see my screen good?
Yes.
Or is let's see. Oops. Okay, so I can't see what I actually, never mind, I can. Okay, so I just put a PowerPoint together to just, you know, summarize our last fiscal year and what we've done with the city of St. Helens. Wanted to start with Nob Hill. Nob Hill, we help with biannual cleanups in both the fall and the spring. We've done removal of invasive species. We've reintroduced more native species back into Nob Hill. We have contributed, you know, 60 plus different plants between those two different dates. And then we have also had a total of 22 volunteers show up, and that roughly totaled to about 65 volunteer hours. I put together this lovely slide that shows our volunteers afterwards and hard at work. Another thing that we do for the city of St. Helens is surveying for invasives. This last fiscal year, we involved the Scappoose High School plant science class, and they did field trips 2 different times with us to do surveying at McCormick Park. We logged everything on iNaturalist to contribute to the mapping where all those plants are, to have a better idea for future planning of, you know, any kind of treatment or removal. This map is roughly what we did with the plant science class at McCormick Park. All the dots are going to be where each plant was noted. We had a variety of plants that these students helped us identify and log. And, you know, that's there on the list. It shows all of them. It gives us a really good idea of what's going on in the park. And, you know, that'll help us moving forward be able to come up with a good plan for the invasive removal and treatment, or whatever ends up being the best solution within the park and for us in the city. Another thing with McCormick Park is the Japanese garden. This last year, I met with both Buck and Brandon Sundin to discuss the Japanese garden. It is something that I feel has been a little bit lost in history a bit, and you know, there is this passion to move forward and revitalize it. Giving some suggestions and recommendations from meeting at the Japanese garden, they did a tremendous amount of cleanup and it already looks amazing. And so I do have a before and after picture. So this is on April 16th when we first met, and then April 25th. Now, the angle is slightly different between these pictures. However, it is the same spot at the Japanese garden. In this slide, the circled area is where there was an invasive butterfly bush. Not even, you know, 9 days later, they had that removed given the recommendations. And then you can also see a lot of the ground coverage that was cleaned up because from what I know, I believe they did do an Earth Day cleanup as well. So it's just one piece, one project that, you know, we've kind of helped contribute to. This slide I included because McCormick Park not only has, you know, we don't want to focus on just the negative. We want to be able to focus on the positive as well, not just the invasive species that are there. McCormick Park has such a wonderful amount of native plants, and these are just a few that we have documented and noticed while we've been there. The entrance at McCormick Park is just the most gorgeous camas field. And so, you know, I included the Trillium and then the Oregon saxifrage as well. So, you know, those are plants that we want to be able to help get rid of these invasives to allow these native species to thrive even more than they already are. I've touched a little already about, just moving forward and things that we can do. We want to continue the invasive surveying, continue providing mapping. We want to be able to reach as many of these parks in St. Helens as possible and get, the first step is always going to be our surveying. We want to be able to provide what information we can about what plants are out there that are negatively impacting all of these parks. Putting together volunteer work parties within the different parks to help with cleanup and removal of the invasives, also help at some point put in more native species once the cleanups have been done. One thing we would really like to be able to do in October is highlight on the city of St. Helens Halloween Town. We would love to be able to do a volunteer cleanup and planting in October that highlights on that. And then, just keep it moving forward and also be able to help with any sort of treatments, even outside of the volunteer aspect, doing herbicide, pesticide treatments for the invasives throughout the different parks. And that is it.
Anybody have questions or comments? Anybody?
I have one, on the IGA written description, excuse me, under 1. It says at the bottom of that paragraph, Parks and Recreation Coordinator. We don't have a Parks and Recreation Coordinator anymore, but you're probably referring to maybe Buck as our Parks Supervisor.
The same question.
I do have one comment. On article number 11. Maybe Taylor can, I think I understand what it means. I just don't know what those words mean in legalese. Number 11. Taylor, what does, could you just say what that means at first?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. So number 11 for construction and interpretation.
And construction
Is that
means
the
the
one you're talking
making of, does that mean the making of the document?
On that question, in all honesty, this would be a question that would probably be better for Rochelle to answer. Which she is not in right now.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I'm not really understanding that one myself either.
Typically,
That is
contracts that whoever writes up the contract, the person that they're in the contract with, what their interpretation usually has better status than the drafter of the contract. And that's why they're saying that on this particular occasion, they both, it's mutual rather than the draftee having the rights to interpret the document.
I think I understand.
Okay.
That's kind of what I figured it kind of meant.
I have just one comment on this, so that we all know that we're clear. The IGA for this not come out of the parks. All none of it does. It's a totally different fund, so if you're thinking that.
That's good, because I don't think we have any
money out
money.
of our funds, it is not. It's out of, I believe, a community development budget, so it's not coming out of parks money.
Taylor, on this IGA, is it pretty much a roller from last year? Are there any changes that? from last
no,
year
so
is?
we are sticking pretty much to everything the same as last year's because the watershed as a council has had a lot of high turnover rate previously that has not necessarily allowed for us to move through the IGA as much as we would like to. So because our turnover rate is now not really, there's no turnover rate. We have a very steady work group now that we want to be able to take what has been presented previously and move forward with it so that we can get through the previous IGA and be able to come back the following year and, you know, present more than what was there, if that makes sense.
Anybody else have anything? All right, thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys for allowing me to speak today.
Next on the agenda, I think we've covered it, but I don't know for sure. Nick?
Excuse me, they wanted you to vote to recommend this to council. Do you think it's okay?
Okay. Somebody has to make a motion.
Next.
Somebody has to make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the Scottsboro State Watershed Council.
Second. All in favor?
Quick question before that, because there was a question on the bottom line of number 1 with the park and recreation coordinator. Were you wanting that edited to reflect the fact that we?
That would be correct.
Taylor's still there. Are you still there, Taylor?
I can contact them.
Yes, I am still here.
Okay,
Because my
Good.
job, if it is, I'm assuming you're talking about, my job title is facilities maintenance supervisor.
if we could change that in the contract.
Yeah, if we need to do any edits, we definitely can.
Okay. So we're gonna have to have a new motion with the edits.
Make a new motion with the edits. To change it to represent Buck as the
Coordinator.
coordinator. For the city.
Facilities
Second.
and what, Buck?
Facilities maintenance supervisor.
Jacob seconded.
That one comes fast.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Should pass. All right. Now to number 2, Nick, are you, did you, that fulfill what you were on here for?
100%.
All right, okay, we're on to number 3. Jerry, you're up.
You know, I think the new urban trail subcommittee, I think this is kind of a moot question now. I had this was like from 3 meetings ago and then it was dropped off 2 meetings ago and we didn't have a meeting last time. So when we had a big discussion a couple meetings ago, we decided that when we have, there's only one subcommittee here, that's the urban trail subcommittee. And Article 6 says that it's the chairman of that can call meetings, you know. So the next time we call a meeting, I will contact Kathy. We'll have it in advance, so it can be put in the newspaper. And I would really hope that everyone that's interested in the urban trail show up. And I would really hope that people in the community show up also. So
And you're looking to have one of the members take the minutes.
yes, and this is, yes, one of the members, we were told, I believe, that, you know, we did not have to have, with a subcommittee meeting like that, we did not have to have a city employee there. And then we could take the minutes, but we had to take minutes. And they had to, yeah, so that's why I'm gonna call this null and void.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have a comment on that?
So that'll just be, so when you plan to do the meetings for the subcommittee, you'll just make a general like announcement that.
Well, yeah, I'll contact you and I'll contact Howard and make sure that, and I'll get a place. And and we won't do it until the 3 of us can meet it. And it's usually Mondays.
Yeah, Mondays are great for me if that's okay.
It's usually Monday afternoons. Okay. Yes, so we'll make it inclusive. You know, I know that was one of the concerns, especially Jacob had, that, you know, we were being inclusive. And I've tried to be open about everything that we've done, but I can see his point, you know, and Jacob is more than welcome to come and have input. And anyone else, citizens, even Buck can come if he wants to. Thank you.
You're so inclusive, Jerry.
Who's next? Oh, I'm next. Okay, great.
We already done number 4, correct?
Not really.
We haven't?
No, it says, request, for unfenced cliff. I still think it's a good idea that there's a fence there. I mean, a sign there. I'm kind of with Jacob there, if there's a sign there, does it make people want to go off the cliff, or does it keep people from going off the cliff? It's like putting the hand in the machine, let me think, do I really want to do that? But, I mean, I'll go, as I said, it, one of the last statements I said, I'm good. If a barrier, like Mark's gonna research this, and I think eventually there's going to be a fence there. I mean, a barrier there, excuse me, an attractive barrier. It needs to be there. And if there's a barrier there, we don't need a sign, but I still think a sign is still not a bad idea if there's not a barrier.
We have a barrier there, a sign's not gonna hurt.
I don't disagree.
So if anyone wants to, my request is that, I can't, I'll be quite honest. I know that we got a grant. And we were asked that if, is there anything we wanted to use that grant for? And I would have liked to have had, a sign like this made that says, it has a caution sign like this and it says caution, unfenced cliff. I'd like to have that sign. Now, whether it's gonna be put up or not, that will be maybe decided by other people. But yes, I would still like to request that. I don't know how much the sign cost. I didn't look into it, but what do they usually cost, Buck?
What it's made out of,
From where to where?
depends on how it's mounted, what it's made out of. There's all kinds of stuff.
So anywhere from
A lot of variables.
be a lot, huh?
What do you think, Sherry?
Put her on the spot.
Next question, how much was,
Short as most of our signs.
$5 to $500?
Oh, no, you're gonna be way over $5, I guarantee. So,
A few hundred to.
yeah, you could be 250 to 600.
oh, okay. So how much was the grant that we originally got for this? And I don't want to take the majority of the money if it's gonna cost $500 or $600 for the sign.
I don't recall what the total was for that.
The 1,000. There's 1,000.
I think this is a good use. I think this is appropriate and I support it. And so how do we go about requesting that a sign be placed?
So who makes the decision on how that grant money is used?
You guys do.
We do.
Okay, and I don't know what other people have done, so here's what I'd like to see happen is the people, that have all the requests for that money. We have a discussion here. And then we decide how we're gonna spend that money.
Do we have other requests out right now that are active and have not been fulfilled?
Yes.
That was passed 6 months ago.
Yeah, I thought there was some that were, and what was your, Lynn?
It was passed.
Howard, did you have something you wanted money for?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got some signage here and there that needs to be replaced. If I go into mine now, it's kind of revolves around signs. Gray Cliffs, we're in very much need of having the rules and regulations sign replaced. It's unlegible there in the park. And so I don't know exactly where that money can come from, which comes from that grant money. Didn't we get $1,000 from the TINA money that have we tapped into that at all yet? So we do have money for our signage, we also need more signs in Gray Cliffs pertaining to, like, when you drive in, there should be a sign that's more specific about the lower half of Gray Cliffs is a leashed park. And an arrow or something that points to where the off-leash park is. Because of the trouble that I had with people there one time that were totally adamant that the whole park is an off-leash dog park. Even though there's only one sign in there in the turnaround that does say leashed pets, pick up your your doggy stuff, a lot of people run their dogs wherever they want to, Great Cliffs. And that's a little bit of a problem. We've got some people be accosted by dogs in there.
I think that's an issue at all of the parks. I don't think there's been a time that I visited any of the parks within the last calendar year that there wasn't off-leash dogs.
It's constant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need a few more signs so that when it does happen, that a citizen could go, hey, wait a second, there's the sign. And be backed up a little bit. Say no signs, but I think if we had another 2 or 3, and then like I say, get the rule back and make it much more plain where the off leash area is there. At that park. Or at Great Cliffs. I've never paid attention to our other parks if they have signage pertaining to what the rules are at the off leash dog park. Do they need to be?
They all have
replaced?
signage, they all have rules, they're big signs with all the rules on them.
Okay,
But
but,
you still gotta have people that read them and follow.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
But the one at Great Cliffs is unlegible, so I don't know about the one, the other 2 dog parks.
Sure.
Okay, I'm willing to take that sign off, you know, maybe, you know. I think if we have $1,000, it's, you know.
I can order it.
So we should have more than $1,000 because we have the,
You know, I mean.
we have the grant money
Grant money,
and then we have
yeah.
the money that was raised by Tina. So we have a decent chunk of money. And so I was wondering, if it would be possible if we all officially put in our like recommendation for the signs, that we could have like a cost breakdown and then we could officially vote on which ones then we would.
You have an estimate, I
Yeah.
wouldn't call it a solid cost.
Yeah, but like an estimate, and then that way we can prioritize based on the needs and costs on which ones that we're 100%.
Kind of what I was thinking was, you guys put your wish list together, and then we'll throw some numbers at it, and then you guys can meet and see what you think you really want.
Well, and we also need to know how much money we have.
Exactly.
The other one I would love to see too is that we need to get a sign for the product.
Yeah.
That's another talk, and that's one.
On the list.
That's on my list, that's on me, I haven't done that.
As far as with the urban trail, I mean, I think that with what has transpired with the state, having stepped in and said, you know, with the immunity on that, I don't think it's needed for the trail myself. Just want to put that out there.
Well, the trail doesn't go by the cliff anymore. It's on the other side of the road.
This is something when you all get your signs that you want together,
Yeah.
you guys can all vote on it, everyone can vote, and you'll be clear.
Do we hold
Depending
on
on liabilities and looking into that stuff.
Get
Yeah.
an idea of the money and what signs? Should we prioritize the signs?
Like I said, I mean, you know, I think Robin really would like a barrier there. You know, I'll be quite honest, because she has grandchildren.
Okay, but
He does not.
cost efficiency
Does not have
between,
grandchildren.
A barrier and a
Right.
sign.
Yeah.
And what we can do now versus
Doesn't have
what,
any.
we can do later.
yes.
And a barrier, I think would be more on the city and the city engineers.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
the
but
department.
before today, moving forward, if everybody puts in their request to Buck and then hopefully we can get some estimates and then maybe at our next meeting, we can
Discuss and prioritize.
and make
It
official
would be
votes.
Great if we could have an estimate by our next meeting.
You think that would be possible?
It depends on what your list looks like.
And how soon we get it to you, so.
Well, how much time do you have?
If you want to give me requests about your signs, and I'll forward it to Buck.
Great.
So are you done with that, Jerry?
Yes.
Okay. And Howard, you're done?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, that's me on Sand Island. There was an email to the city council and I was included on it from Patrick Berkeley about Sand Island. He had concerns about a lot of trees being taken out there and also more campsites than had originally been agreed upon. So I just want to let you guys know that he contacted me with those concerns. Especially with folks, I think Jacob and Howard are both on Sand Island. I've invited Patrick over for coffee to discuss it. and you guys can be invited to for. Yes,
I have a question on that. When, we did see the contract, I have it probably in here somewhere,
Yeah.
because I read it one time, twice. But, did it have specifically how many campsites could be built there in it?
Didn't, no, it wasn't that detailed. It just,
And did it have anything to say about, vegetation being cut down?
just the trees is what Patrick, I was just flagging up Patrick's email.
So. Here's a question for Buck, is that okay?
Sure.
So, Buck, you have, like, you just cut down, well, there was a tree that fell down in Botanical Garden, your people came and cut it up, but it was down already. So, but what is the rule, what do you think it is that, can people just cut down trees in a park? Or
No, they can't. Not at any other park.
Yeah,
do they?
there's supposed to be a permitting process, through the planning commission on,
Sand Island's a whole different beast.
I thought he came and talked to us about Sand Island. We talked about only removing the trees that were like dead and damaged and.
yeah, but I think it's a little more extensive, I think, well, what Patrick has told me is like 100 trees. Talking cottonwoods, which take a long time, so that's just what I've been told.
We removed over 100 trees.
Contract says.
I don't know, where he got his information from or anything like that. So. I just wanted to flag that out. But
I do have a comment. We do cut non-native cherry trees in Nob Hill.
Well, yeah, you're talking almost saplings or smaller trees.
Yeah.
I mean, he's talking about timber sizable.
yeah, I believe so.
That's it, 4 or 6.
So one of the things we talked about and made a motion about, I think, was that if there was any structures that are being built on Sand Island, that should come through the Parks Department and then through the city council, that just
Planning, I
doesn't,
think, too.
through planning. So it should go through the whole system.
He said-
Or is this what's already there? What do we just?
We're talking about buildings, I'm not talking about trees, so.
Well, this could be campsites that he's.
Are they building new ones or?
No, if they do build new ones,
If they do.
yeah, because
Isn't there some under construction right now, though?
I know, but I don't know when it
But I
starts.
thought we were told about those.
Do what?
Weren't we told about those when he was here?
At that time, yes, but they gone through planning department and everything else before we ever heard about it.
Also, it could be that just campsites that they're constructing rather than structures. More than,
well,
it could be.
we do.
I'm just speculating.
We do have that intergovernmental agreement with the Scappoose, a watershed council. I would think they might have some input on what can be cut down and what cannot be, or what could be cut down and what shouldn't be cut down. I mean, I'm no expert on what should, but I don't think it should be just indiscriminate. I think that,
Yeah. Should be some type of control.
I don't know if someone's overseeing that process.
I believe that our city forester is Mohammed.
Oh.
Could be a contact point, and also with Cameron Page in Parks. He's a park specialist, which involves a lot of the tree stuff also. So
Who's that, Buck?
Cameron Page, he's in the Parks Department. But I don't know what contractually Brad has over there at Sand Island. I mean, if he's wants to clear it out, put a campsite in, I don't know if he could just call him, or he has to talk to somebody about it, or how that works. You kind of just clear of Sand Island, and Brad's the guy.
Yeah.
I had a couple of questions on that. Reading some feedback from the public lately regarding Sand Island. I've seen some concerns, regarding accessibility to the island. Because while I haven't reached out personally, it appears that, that they used to shuttle people over for day use. And by they, I mean those who run the campground, and currently they are not allowing anyone over unless they are paid for overnight camping. And that has brought some concerns and frustration for some of the community members that they feel that it's limiting their access to day use at Sand Island.
I thought it was,
It is not in the contract to,
I thought they shut
Right.
it during the day too.
it says not in the, it doesn't say about shuttling public in the contract. from what
Right.
I understand.
But, and while I don't have any personal opinion on a private, person offering public free transportation, I do feel that it, raises the point that maybe some clear communication with the public on that would be appropriate, because what they view then is that it's a city-owned park and that the city is not allowing the public over there, because the general public, I don't think, is privy or understanding of a contract with a private company on a city-owned park, and that has created some
We
frustration.
had a shuttle,
I thought they were supposed to.
yeah, we have a shuttle that goes back and forth through just a day, people.
So that shuttle is,
Okay,
not in the
the
regular
shuttle's
agreement.
gone over to Brad.
yeah, and they're
I
only
understand.
doing it for the paid
And
campers.
the agreement says that he does, it isn't in the agreement that he has to shuttle the general public over
Part
that.
of communication efforts, Crystal King would be a good one to talk to. She'll know what has been out for the public already, and she might be able to put something together to present to the public through social medias, newspapers, things like that, if there's a lot of concerns.
Yeah,
Basically, you have to find your own way over there, but it's open to day use
right.
without a fee.
I don't know what they're offering or what they have.
Yeah.
I've heard one, I've heard the other.
When did we stop shuttling over there?
Could I add something real quick? This is Nick, so I work at Cornerstone and CCMH. We had a break week in June, which is essentially where we don't have any classes and we take clients to certain events like bowling, parks, trips. One of the ideas was taking clients over to Sand Island. This email is from June 3rd, 2024. So I said, hello, Andrew. My name is Nick. I'm an assistant administrator at CCMH Cornerstone. We're thinking about taking some of our clients over to Sand Island in a couple weeks, and I wanted to touch base to learn more about how reserving the ferry works, prices, and times the ferry is available. Andrew got back to me, says our day use shuttle is currently not available due to staffing restrictions. If you wanted to rent a site to get over there, the cheapest day rate is $35 a night. And the shuttle would run from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. to accommodate that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and 8 a.m., 2 p.m. on Sunday. We are currently closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, I mean, as of June 3rd, they didn't have any day use availability to get over there. So just wanted to add that in there.
Unless you were camping.
Yes.
If you're camping, yeah, if you're camping and you're staying overnight, then they can bring you over there.
But I still could take a canoe over there anytime and hang out
Mhm.
during the daytime.
Right,
But
so,
people with
so for,
disabilities will be able to do that.
We don't
Right.
have staffing to take you over during the day unless you're camping.
correct. So that is from the feedback that I've been reading from the public, that's a concern, because then they feel that the general public is limited on their access unless it's paid.
It always
camp.
thought
I don't blame them.
I thought
As
there was.
as a city park, though, they find that frustrating.
I don't blame them.
And then they're confused on who's limiting it. Their perspective is that it's the city.
You find your own way out there, it's legal to be out there any day of the week
Right.
except not overnight.
Right, but not everybody has access.
That's why I literally thought it was in the agreement.
Well, see, I know you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say probably. But, when there's some things I don't like that's happening over there, as you well know, trees being cut down, buildings being built. There's a lot of things, but as far as this transportation is concerned, it wasn't in the contract,
From what I understand.
so. Whether. There was a shuttle running, let's say that the city still had the park, it was just a park. People would still have to find their way over. So, we're not taking anything away from. We're not taking anything away from the citizens of St. Helens that they already had.
Yeah. But I think what Jacob's frustration is that we have an agreement with a private entity and this wasn't part of that agreement.
Yeah, but, well, yeah, maybe it should have been. part of it.
Before they took it over though, we had a shuttle that went over there all the time. It would take
1 year.
Over there.
1 year
Yeah,
old.
okay, 1 year and a ton of people over there all the time.
And the public got used to that.
Yeah, and All of a sudden now we don't have a shuttle to
It's
go.
also extremely expensive to
Yeah.
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
employees to.
You know, I mean, I just,
to do that.
Yeah.
you know, when we started discussing the Sand Island thing, I kind of looked at it as like the state park system. You know, you go to a state park system, you go to a state park, a lot of state parks, which I don't go to very often, except for hiking. You go in, if you're gonna stay overnight, you have to pay a fee. The city, the state doesn't pay for your way to go to that park. Now, I can grant, I understand that this is St. Helens and people, this is the city park. And that maybe that should have been part of the agreement, but it was never part of the agreement, and maybe when this contract comes up again, it should be, because I mean. It's, if it's legal for them not to have a shuttle and it's gonna cost them money. You know.
We have somebody over there taking care of the park, correct?
Correct. My understanding.
Why could we not make it his responsibility to say, okay, at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m., you shuttle back and forth.
Yeah, the guy that took the caretaker, that's what he did.
He gets to stay over there for free.
That's what they did when I went over there.
The answer to that is because he already has a contract that's signed. Why would he add that too?
Yeah.
I get it. I get it's frustrating, but I'm saying he's legally already has a
I
contract.
get that too.
So he's not gonna go. Yeah, what the heck? I'll burn so much fuel and pay a guy to do this.
So should we take another look at the agreement and then discuss this next?
Well, there's nothing we can do about the agreements that they have. right?
I know,
It's written.
No, but I think clarifying it and then at that point, because what I would like to see is just a clear communication with the citizens so that they fully understand what is going on. And that way, I'm hoping it will decrease some of the discontent that they have, where they think that the city itself is not allowing them to do something that they need to do. And that I'm hoping will boost morale rather than have them have a reason to be mad at this.
They could be mad still.
Yeah, oh, I think they
Possible,
will.
but I can help.
Jacob, I agree with you.
And how long is the contract they have?
I think it could be renegotiated, if I remember right,
Party can break it.
any party can open it up at any time they want it.
And I just remember he said if
Yeah.
we don't re-sign the contract, St. Helens buys it back
We're
from us.
just doing all speculation when we look at it and talk about it.
Yeah, I think we should look at it and talk about it.
Okay,
That'd be great.
so,
Well, one more comment. You know, I think what happened, the city has never done anything like this before. You know, it's never been, never been done. And I don't know if it's ever gonna be done in another city, but probably it wasn't researched deep enough and enough thought was put into everything that was taking place there. You know, the buildings being built there without it going through the planning commission and us, trees being cut down. You know, if it's legal in the contract, then it's legal. If it's legal not to ship people back and forth, it's not legal. But I think it says that you can open up the contract, any party can open up the contract anytime they want it.
we'll take a look at that and discuss it next meeting. All right, we're gonna go with Dana's roles and responsibilities of commissioner. If we could just go with a high level look at that. and
High level up.
And then get deeper into it later.
So there's just a couple of things that I wanted to touch base on. And then I'd like to have a deeper discussion later on, once you guys have time to digest and think about a few things. And so in our bylaws, in Article 2, where it talks about the purpose and powers of our commission. And so if you read there, the powers and purpose of our commission is really to be a liaison for the park and make recommendation to city council to advocate, promote parks, identify funding opportunities, and then perform any park or any tasks as directed by council to perform. In addition to that, there are some responsibilities and duties as stated in our municipal code. In Article 5, in reference to officers specifically, the role of the chair is to conduct all the meetings in an orderly manner. And otherwise,
Right.
will try to conduct the meetings in an orderly manner. And that they can vote, but unless specifically voted by a unanimous consent of the commission, they're not to make motions. They're not supposed to initiate motions. And then the vice chair's role would just be to stand in for the chair in the event that they're unable to attend the meetings. And of course, this does not limit the terms of the officers, but those are those clear roles for them. In the municipal code, as highlighted in Article 2. And I don't see that it's within my pocket today. But in the responsibilities, powers and duties, which is the section 2.74.090. I read these off at our last meeting, but I would like for you guys to go through and take a look at the responsibilities, powers and duties of the commission members. And I think that it would be appropriate as a commission to go through and clarify our roles, including things.
Article 2.
So in the municipal code, chapter 2.74, and then the section is 090. Okay, and it's a pretty lengthy section. It takes up the rest of the that chapter of the municipal code. And so so what I would like to do is have a more detailed discussion once you guys are able to look at that and digest it a little bit. In clarifying our roles as commission members, as far as what we are truly responsible to do as commission members, and then kind of what our boundaries are, our limitations. And in that mindset, I'd like to consider the park assignments. In addition to processes for taking action on proposals regarding the park changes, trails, additions, and that kind of stuff. And the reason I think that's appropriate is because there's a few things that we do here on this commission that is not clearly outlined in our bylaws, including things like having the park assignments. There's no language that defines that or gives us structure. It's just things that we do as a commission. And I think some of the lack of clarity on our roles, responsibilities, and duties has been an issue for some of our recent commission members and has caused some unsuredness on whether or not they're able to uphold their role as a commission member. So I feel some of the things that we've been doing is just not clear. We don't have the guidelines. There's nowhere for them to reference, and therefore it leaves the sensation of, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I feel like I'm being asked more than what I think I'm supposed to be doing. And so if we just made a couple of clarifying edits in our bylaws, which we can by vote, I think that would be super helpful in supporting us as current members, but also supporting any future members that they come onto the commission.
I remember when first joining the commission, got a big packet of stuff and reading that. I remember, I don't know specifically, but I thought, this sounds like a very expansive, or reading that was pretty expansive. So I'm just gonna say that because you're saying it's narrowed, fairly narrow, and I'm not sure.
Because I have not ever received any like written instruction on things like the park assignments, right? And clear duties there, assigning parks, things like that. These are things that we've done just as a commission and voted and created, but we don't have clear language there. And I think it would be really, really helpful and something that could be added in without a problem into our bylaws that just defines that. And it would give us the opportunity to, just throwing things out there, possibly rotate assignments so that more people pay attention to more parks, or have the opportunity to participate with other parks that maybe they're not able to. And those are just brainstorming ideas. So I'd really like a more detailed conversation later, but really clarifying our roles, because the only clarification for roles in any of this specifically is the chair and vice chair, and then what's listed here on here in the responsibilities, powers, and duties in our municipal code. But there are things that we've been doing that go above and beyond this. And I think that anytime we as public servants on an individual or a group basis act above and beyond what is our clearly defined roles, responsibilities, and duties, that it leaves a potential for liability for ourselves or for the city itself. And so just clarifying those things would be in the best interest of ourselves as commission members and the city itself.
How do you want to proceed with that?
So I would like everyone to review this at length. And then consider possible changes in regards to those things that I had mentioned. Regarding clarifying roles and responsibilities from individual committee members, the park assignments, and then taking action on proposals. Because as liaisons, we should be making recommendations to council telling us what we should do, and then us following up on those things versus just as a broad conversation, even with you know, the Urban Trail or the Milton Creek, where individuals or groups doing large amounts of action, especially if they're doing it prior to going to the city council in the first place, that's not actually in our roles. So it's things that we've done, but that's not technically what we should be doing. And so clarifying that language would be really helpful to make sure that we're always on the same page and doing what we should be doing. Which is recommending things to the city council and then following up based on.
There's seen the problem the years I've been on the Parks Commission.
I feel like some of the stuff that we've ran into this year is because of some of that.
And to see it too defined, because sometimes we gotta be flexible on what we're discussing and what our opinion.
I fully agree with that, but some of the feedback that I've gotten from some of the commission members that were on and then stepped away quite quickly was because of lack of clarity, and that they felt that more was being asked of them than what was actually being asked of them. That makes sense. And because I felt similarly myself.
So, we're gonna be looking at this and discussing it. How long will it take folks to review that and be able to be conversant in this? Is Nick and Reed still on?
Yeah, Reed's still here.
Okay, just chime in when you can, if you want.
I'd say we could talk about next meeting. But I won't be.
Is that why?
No, I will be in Montalban.
No, okay. So you want us to do it next meeting?
Sure. I'll try to call you from the beach.
Yeah, okay, you gonna zoom in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my Zoom don't work here in Mexico.
Good water crashing in the background.
I'll be tequila crashing.
So if people can be prepared for that next meeting, that'd be great. If not, we can.
I say we do it in November. That way everybody.
Okay. Does that sound good? for
Yeah,
you?
that's fine.
Nate, I'm a little confused on this. So it's not the bylaws of the St. Helens Parks and Trails Commission?
So it would be affecting the bylaws of the St. Helens Parks and Trails Commission, because that's where we.
What is it called again? That you want us to review?
So in Article 2 of the Parks and Trails Commission bylaws, the bottom line states that our responsibilities, duties, and powers are stated in the municipal code.
What number is it?
2.1.
It says 2.16 of the St. Helens Municipal Code as amended, but when I printed it out, it's chapter 2.74. There,
And that's on the city's website?
it is on the city's website.
Okay.
It's just the bylaws just would need to be updated.
Yeah.
The next time the bylaws are updated, you need yeah.
Okay, right. So then, so an edit needs to be made to the bylaws anyway, just to reflect the full code change. So really, it would be a conversation of our bylaws and making any edits and clarifications.
Are we okay to do this, discuss this in November?
I think November is appropriate because it gives people time to review. And then really, I mean, I would encourage you to sit with the bylaws and read through it. And then if there's anything else that you feel could be updated or should be updated, now would be a good time to refresh it.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Just in November, because I'll be here then.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, yes, anybody else have anything to say about that? All right, we'll go to old business. We have the Milton Creek Reserve or Woodland Reserve standing on. I sent out an email yesterday with the agreed proposal of moving forward on that. And so anybody have anything to say?
And this is the motion that we passed in May, right?
Yeah, to that special meeting.
Well, I always have something to say. Well, and you know, I feel, I think somewhere in the future, we probably need to have a special meeting called by you, where we, maybe the first special meeting, we kind of talk among ourselves what we'd like to see accomplished. You know, I would like to see a trail. I would like to see the old Boise Park become an actual city park. I'd like to see the Camas Field saved. I would like to see.
Excuse me, when that for the Boise Park is part of the reserve anyways.
Yeah, well, depends on how big we just want the reserve to be, and then all the little quarry sites that are pretty cool. Those are the things I would really, you know, like to see, you know, saved in there. But I think somewhere down the line, you know, I think we can do it here, see how much here, but somewhere down the line, we need to get the city administrator involved in this. We need to get the mayor involved in this. And we need to get Sean Clark involved in this. I know the Port of Columbia County is very, they want to do this, but I mean, I think this is gonna take a while for it to take place. And again, as Jacob said, and I said about the urban trail, I think most people here, they don't want a subcommittee anymore. You know, everyone, so we call a meeting, or we do what we can at this meeting. And then if, which I don't think, you know, obviously today we'll probably get everything done that might get done, but somewhere down the line, we're not. It's gonna take a lot of time. And then we call a special meeting, and then everyone on the committee that wants to come, everyone on the commission that wants to come can come, and then also it'll be open to the public. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, with my thinking is that, I mean, we have our ideas. And if we don't have the port, you know, any communication with the port and what they would like to see. I'd like to see some type of dialogue between us and the port. Plus, I mean, but in order to do that, we need to also get the okay from the city. And how that all is gonna work, I mean, I'm not sure what the best way forward on that is. So, I mean, to get this off the ground, that's, I think, one of the first things that we need to do.
In your annual meeting, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to go through and look at your PowerPoint yet. Is there anything in there in regards to a discussion about Milton Creek when you?
No, that was something I was gonna, when we got onto it.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask to have that added.
Okay,
the urban trail plus this and, what's the time here?
Okay.
See about that.
Okay, because, yeah, because I think at least, beginning that conversation with the city council. As a whole, before we do a lot more planning.
Yep.
Would be really healthy, because that way we can hear from them. If that's even something that they would be open to, or if they have any limitations, which they would be pretty adamant about. And that will help shape our plan, moving forward. We could be able to focus better, I think, and get some tasks done.
Okay, so we'll need somebody to go approach, well, I would think John Walsh about it. Anybody want to volunteer to do that?
I think you and Lynn should be the ones who do that. No, but then I think you should be the one that says that, because you've worked with the report. We've had some, anyway, I'd be willing to attend the meeting, but I would, I don't want to be in charge of the meeting.
Is
Well-
that something that you could add into the annual report and have?
Discuss with it during that. Not sure if that would be appropriate for that.
Okay.
I think it'd be better just to discuss it
As a separate item.
as a separate item, first with John and see what way to go on that.
Should we get the mayor involved in that conversation too, John, and the mayor, or just John?
I'll start with John, then we can, branch out from there.
Okay.
Can I ask, just for my own, I don't understand, is there a reason why you would go to John separately than the council?
Well, because John has had approached or had discussed with the port, that property previously.
Okay,
So, I think he has some background on it. I'm aware that, the mayor has said that, was wondering what was going on in the commission here.
Mhm.
And he said, something about, well, what are they talking about that, for?
Mhm.
So I was talking to Kathy Payne about it, and said he's wondering why, you guys have even started with this.
Mhm.
And I said, well, it is in the master plan,
Mhm.
so that I believe is our in on the whole thing,
Mhm.
so. I think John would probably be the first step in seeing where he thinks that it should go, because he has a relationship with Sean Clark too, I believe, on other things too.
But John has already been involved in some of the discussions, because was he with you guys when you met with the port?
Yeah, he was to help present.
Okay, so my question is still, instead of just discussing the project with John, since he already seems privy to at least some of our intention, and because the council are the ones who really are,
Well,
who are guiding
maybe
us.
Brandon could help us on that. Brandon?
Yeah, go ahead. So state, what's your question, Dana? Why John instead of the council?
Yeah, like is it helpful to move forward to speak privately with John versus bringing the concept to the council as a whole, or, members of the council?
Honestly, I think it depends what stage you're at. I would say as a commission, that would be kind of your role to come up with a plan and some kind of presentation before you present it to council. I don't think they're going to be in there making all the decisions, but if you guys come up with a plan, and I think John definitely should be involved in that, because he does have powers and duties that the council doesn't necessarily have. So it's, I think, good to keep both parties informed, but John also is over the Parks Department, so.
If, we're kind of cutting the port out on some of these decisions. So, I mean, we're making decisions that then we're gonna go to the port with all these, ideas that we've decided upon, and they wouldn't have any input on it yet. So I'm worried about stepping on their toes. So, I mean, that's kind of it's a three-way game here and trying to see what is the best way forward.
My thinking on this is a little bit different than everyone else is thinking. You know, first of all, yeah, down the line, Sean Clark and the Port of Columbia County, they want to be really involved, but we volunteer for the city. And I think, you know, when we meet, like I said before, I think it should be city administrator and the mayor. I think if we left one of them out, we'd be stepping on people's toes. I think the mayor should know, you know, he doesn't need to say, oh, I heard you guys are doing this. And the mayor says, what? I haven't heard anything about this. And I think politically and just, you know, I think the first meeting should be, you should meet with the city administrator and the mayor. I'm willing to be at the meeting, but I think it should be both of those two is my take on it, because
What about Brandon? I mean.
I'm
Brandon
for Brandon to be there because he knows more. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. If
I was gonna add, I don't know why the mayor doesn't necessarily have any more say than anybody else on council, so.
One vote.
Again, I think it's important for the whole council to be informed, but I don't know that that would be appropriate to loop him in and nobody else.
well,
My
I
thoughts,
just- Brandon, here's my take on that. You know, he's the mayor. I mean, he's the mayor of St. Helens. You know, he may only have one vote, but he's the mayor. And, you know, I think leaving the mayor out in any discussions is a mistake. That's my
yeah,
take.
and I'm not encouraging to be left out, but again, and not to say, look at me, but I'm the parks liaison, so that's kind of my role. And he's got other things he's overseeing. And I think, again, once we get to a certain stage, he should be made aware of it.
I think.
And you
I
think
agree
you
with
should
that.
be, Brandon, you think you should be there?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah, I do
He's
too.
our liaison because then he
Yeah.
can report back to the
the
city
council.
council on
Yeah.
what we're doing and report back to the
Okay.
mayor.
And see what their thoughts are on it.
So-
My thoughts too, so regarding the conversation with the port, I would think at this point, the commission's focus should be our side of the creek and our input on the project. And again, once we have a proposal for what we would like to see, I would think it would be appropriate to get the port involved at that point, but it seems like getting them involved this early might not be beneficial.
I agree with that totally.
Mhm.
But I mean, if we're looking in a holistic manner, I mean, we could be doing things that might not be what the port would want to look at into the whole thing. But I understand where you're going from.
So then, so as far as then moving forward and communicating with John and with council, should we all come to a mutual agreement on what base broad idea without specific details perhaps, but you know, because you said you want the trail, you know, you want the Boise Park and whatnot to be included, you know, preserving the old quarry sites, et cetera,
And the Camas Field.
in the Camas fields, you know, and really just kind of come down with some broader bullet point, general plan. And then bring that initial plan to council. And that way they can give us an initial yay or nay on some of that, because then we could really start to focus and make detailed plans.
So I'll make a proposal. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, and then discuss it or whatever. So I make a proposal that Scott meet with John and Brandon.
I would like somebody else.
And well, if I'm making the proposal, I'll be glad to attend also.
Okay.
So Scott, Jerry would meet you, the primary person, meeting with John and Brandon to discuss the, what do we call it? The Milton Creek Woodland Project. And just, so I make a proposal that's what takes place.
And if two other people want to come along, that's great too.
No,
I
if
know
two people come, then we gotta.
we don't have a quorum. We don't have a quorum then. We can have four, not five.
Would then like to be involved in that. I just want.
I'm not sure.
Since she's a, was part of the traditional thoughts on this, I don't want to leave
It's
her
not,
out of it.
well, it's not clear what you really wanna do and bring to John again, because I know you've talked to him. Part of it or all of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would like to see I would like a group consensus on the initial plan that we're bringing to John
Yes.
and the others prior to making that meeting. That way we are all on the same plan as a commission even before that first step.
Well, I'm gonna reiterate just what I said, and people can put in their input all they want to and say, I don't like what you're saying, and I'm good with that. You're not gonna offend me. But the four things I'd like to see, I'd like to see a trail. I'd like to see a new city park, the Boise Historic Park, or what we wanna call it, used to be a beautiful park. I'd like to see the quarry sites saved. Cause they're the ones that are right along the creek, they're cool, and the ones on the port property are even better. And then I would like to see that Camas, which is about 2.5 acres, Camas saved. Now, I know that at one time Lynn and Scott, they wanted a lot more, and if that's what we wanna do, we're good with that, but those are the four things I would like to see. And that doesn't mean that you have to agree with me or whatever, put your input in, but those are the four things I would like to see us move forward with on the city side. And then eventually we can meet with the port and tell them hey, this is what we've agreed to over here. We kind of want to do, this is our plan, our vision. And this is our vision. What's your vision? That you can, as Lynn said before, Lynn's the one that really kind of got this thing rolling a long time ago. Is this area is so beautiful, it should be saved for future generations.
And I think that's what all of our goal is, to preserve as much as possible.
So I make a motion that Scott, Jerry meet with the mayor, with the city administrator and with Brandon. And Scott be the one who schedules the meeting.
And I would add, if I could, I think it'd be a good idea for Buck to be present at that meeting too, because keep in mind, whether it's a trail or whether it's new parks that are developed, his crew is going to be the ones that are responsible for maintaining these things. So I think he's going to have some important input in this too.
I don't know if I won't bug at that meeting.
Lynn raised a relative point that we don't have, a true scope. We have Jerry's four items, and we don't have,
So
a larger.
would we be?
Suggestion.
Sure.
So when he's saying, oh, I want to get this field saved, if you want this part saved, and I want this, or save this, if you come to the city council or the mayor or John, they're gonna go. You haven't got a big scope of this project.
Right.
And so you need to be really concise because they're on a tight time schedule too.
Right.
So I would just say.
Sorry, Lynn, go ahead. I think your first step might be smartest to come in with a footprint. Just exactly what your footprint is, and you guys would all have to agree on that, of how much land you want, where you want it, put it on a map, draw it out, have engineering print it out, however you want to do it. But start with that and see what the water's like. If it gets real turbulent right there, you're like, maybe we'll throttle back, or, get a feeling of it and let them know exactly your expectations or what your hopes are, and go from there. And then meet again later with a broader plan of, okay, this part's gonna be trails, this part's gonna be, I would kind of piece it together slowly so that you don't have huge, long meetings, because as Lynn says, these people don't have a lot of time, whether you believe it or not. They're busy people. So I think coming in with a footprint to begin with, and throw your wish at them and see what happens. I'm just gonna throw you out
Want
the door.
to kind of look at this or individually and then come back on the next meeting and then discuss and agree on a footprint.
Would we be able to have a special meeting for those who are interested to attend prior to bring these ideas, make them concise, put together a footprint map, And then have that go to the meeting that Jerry proposes with Buck and John and all of them. So just have one special meeting prior to lock down and clarify our initial idea in a mutual way. And that way, anybody here who wants to be involved can be involved in that quick discussion and have the intention really be just to make a quick and dirty proposal that we can then expand, clarify, et cetera, based on feedback after the meeting with John and the others.
What do people think of that proposal?
I think that's
it's-
wise
yeah.
to do a special meeting because there's, as you all know, there's a lot of discussion on the sale of this property. Some things are moving faster, some things are moving slower. We're all guessing on when some of these things could happen. So if you stall out and you wait, pretty soon it's gonna be November, December. And then it's gonna be, well, we got the holidays coming up. Let's get to June, July, then we'll do it again. And then you're starting over. So that property, you might want to get your footprint to them and your hopes and dreams so that maybe they think
Your
about
wish
it when
list.
they're selling property.
You can always add to it too.
Right.
Yeah, that could go either
Just
way.
give them a starting point.
Yeah.
You had some maps.
Now, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Special meeting, you mean what? Everything with the secretaries here or more just like a subcommittee kind of meeting?
Well,
Where
because,
we don't exceed the quorum limit.
so because we don't have a subcommittee anymore, we would have to call a special meeting. Now, according to our bylaws and whatnot, we don't require staff to take our minutes. So one of us can volunteer to take the minutes, and as long as it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, as long as we give public notice on like when and where the meeting is, we don't necessarily have to broadcast the special meeting live, do we?
I would have to clarify that with Kathy, but there is a state requirement now that if you're
Right.
gonna have a public meeting.
That it has to be broadcast live?
Yeah, that was added with COVID.
Okay,
But because of your subcommittees, the way those were, you weren't doing that before, so I would need clarification.
okay.
I'm not completely sure. If you're not gonna have a quorum there, you need to.
We could have a quorum, see what we're looking. at.
Right.
It says
If you're
a-
a quorum, you're a public meeting, so
Right.
you would definitely have to go live.
You know, I think just to solve all problems, no, it's no big deal. Call Kathy. And she'll, post a public announcement. And then we're all legal then, Dana.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure that we
No,
can
no,
get it done,
Give you that time.
but also
I know
still
how you
like
feel.
within our legal limits.
Yeah.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll discuss it with Kathy and then I'll get back to you guys on it. How's
Okay.
that
I
sound?
don't wanna waste your guys' time since the city is in.
So the question is,
Yeah.
I have another
They're gonna
question.
be it up.
I think having a special meeting or something like this is a good idea, but someone needs to be responsible for showing up. Distributing maps and that sort of thing, so we can see. What we're looking at and everything. It's not a comment. I mean, we can't, if we show up at a meeting and there's no maps there and no things there, it's. You're wasting time.
Can you research maps if you want?
I can ask Jenny to print us up some,
Okay.
or the city to, and I'm sure they probably would.
Because I think it would be appropriate to have a overall map of the area. I think it would be appropriate to have layout of the proposed sites that are for sale, right? Because it's plotted, right?
It is plotted. I don't know on any proposed items for sale other than Paperville site.
Right, but at least seeing what is plotted already for sale.
That has been presented, but
And Buck, who has, the city, Jenny's run off maps for me before, and the city staff can do that for me. That's no big deal.
And Lynn has some maps on.
Yeah.
Well, the city did this for me.
This,
Okay.
we have this map here.
probably engineering or planning, one of them.
But who would have the information? So other than the paper mill, is there other plots that are up for sale?
I don't know.
Who would know that?
John Walsh.
Yeah, they want
Okay.
a substation there.
Yeah, as far as I know, Jerry, so if you look at some of those maps they're plotted out for the St. Helens Industrial Park. So for example, the plot 32, plot 34, all of those that we've looked at before.
Yeah, I don't.
At this point, those are kind of imaginary lines, so none of that's been officially platted out. That's the
Okay.
proposal, but those at this point could be adjusted. And to my knowledge, other than the paper mill site, nothing is currently planned for sale.
Okay,
I will ask the city or request the city to do that.
okay, and then I'll get a hold of Kathy and.
I'll have like maybe 10 copies.
A special meeting.
Okay.
And then, is there anything else anybody wants to add to this? Okay,
Sounds like a start.
start. Okay, we're gonna discuss review the annual report to the city council. Lynn has prepared a nice report here, very well put together. There's a few things that I'd like to discuss on it. I don't know if Lynn is willing to add some slides to it. Okay, could we put a slide on the urban trail? So this was just giving an annual report on what we've been working on. And on Milton Creek Woodland Reserve. And on the sign grant.
The presentation that we do every year is on, okay, what was accomplished and what part? Who is responsible for those assigned to those parts and what we hope to.
Yes,
Yeah, so
I think-
we don't have Milton Creek as a park yet. If you want to bring in everything we talked about, that can be put on a slide in the last couple months or.
yeah, we can, and just so that, you know, it's on the map for them with these things that we've done. Just, I mean, like the urban trail and the just some bullet points on the Milton Creek Woodland Reserve, bullet points on the urban trail. Jerry can get those to you. I could get the Milton Creek Reserve bullet points if you'd like, or you can do them yourself. Excuse me?
It's not anything yet. It's just the old Boise Park. So there's nothing that's been worked on that anybody's seen, or there's.
Well, it's kind of,
Parts that are assigned and that.
but I mean, what I'm just trying to do is to detail what we've done for the year
As a commission.
as a commission.
Okay, and so why don't you send me an email, what
Okay.
we've done as a commission in the last year on those things that you mentioned.
I'll get some bullet points, and then I'd like, if we could, do just a slide on the sign grant to show we have money that we have to utilize. And let's see. Also with the presentation. Obviously, I'm gonna be there. Does anybody else want to come? Jerry, anybody else want to come and present too?
When is the presentation going
It's gonna be next month.
to be?
It's,
It can be August 21st.
no, we've already discussed that I've discussed that with Kathy, and that was the first date after August that they could have. It's in September. I think it's the second meeting in September. I'd have to look at it again. It's about a month away. No, I can email you that. Just.
Yeah, if I'm available that day, I'd like to come at least for support, but I would have to know what that is.
The second meeting would be September 18th.
No time.
Let me get back to you guys on that, because
Did you present on that work session? So who else was gonna present? Scott and.
Jerry, Howard and Dana might be there for support. Would you like to also? Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Reed and Nick? Are you there still?
They're both.
Uh, are you guys interested?
All right.
Got an answer enough?
I'm gonna take your silence as a yes, and you're gonna do the full presentation.
Still nothing.
So they'll have questions through this. Are you gonna be answering the questions for city council?
Well, can we all, if they discuss it with them? I mean, we're gonna have Jerry, you and I, so I mean, we can all chime in with Ray. It's, shouldn't be,
That's a question of any of us if we're there.
Yeah. just might not get an answer. So, there's, still haven't heard from Nick or Reed.
My Zoom kind of cut out and I was only able to hear partial. Could you please repeat that? I apologize.
Thank you for volunteering.
Well, thanks for giving the presentation fully. Good luck. We're doing the presentation to the council for the annual presentation.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You want to be part of that?
Yeah, I don't mind. It's what, next Wednesday? Not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that.
It's next month.
September 18th.
We think.
Let me just double check my calendar.
I'll get you the dates within a couple days here.
Okay, perfect. That'd be great. Yeah, my schedule looks open September 18th. Let me just check my work schedule real quick.
Because was it
Go ahead.
2 o'clock is what it
It's
is.
in the afternoon at 2 o'clock. It's the work session.
Okay, I can always take some PTO. I don't mind doing that.
And Lynn, did
Yeah,
everybody?
I'm good on Wednesday. I can do that.
Okay, did everybody give you an update on their parks? Okay. So. If I can get back to you with the, the slides and all that, and, there's a couple of minor things in there I'll email you about, okay, Lynn?
Okay.
And,
I've only got one more question. If we have too many people show up to a city council meeting, do we have to have it listed that we're as a quorum, or would that avoid everything if we're coming to a city council meeting just to
Well,
be there?
we're on the agenda.
Yeah, if you're just there to support. Sitting in the audience, that's okay.
When they chime in.
we'll have 4 with Nick up there, so. Well, it's gonna be advertised anyway, so I think we could all be there because it's
It's
advertised.
just informative rather than we're not making plans or decisions at the time.
Even if.
On
we
the
were,
agenda
just
for our
answer
presentation.
Even if we were, because it's already.
If you think, it might be a good idea if you guys think more than, or 5 or more are going. For Sherry to send out quorum notice. I don't know if Sherry's. been back since we've started doing those now.
She has an old one saved on there I can update, so.
If you think it'll
Just
be,
cover our derriers.
there may be a quorum present. It's looking like it's September 4th. I'm trying to go back through my emails.
Okay.
But I can send out something when I find it too.
And I think that's all I have for that. Anybody else have anything else to add to that? Trying to get us out of here as soon as quick. Okay, then, staff report.
Okay, I'll make it quick. We don't have much time. So basically, the parks have been pretty darn full all through the summer. Haven't had a lot of complaints, the typical usual stuff. We did take down the swings at Godfrey Park. The swings are antique. They're extremely old. The reason we took them down is because they're not assembled like a modern swing. So they have a machined piece that holds the swing on. That piece was worn within 3/16 of an inch was all that was holding it. So it was extremely unsafe. They were all in really bad shape. We don't know if we can have new pieces machined. If we can modify them, the liability of that, so that's being researched. Right now, they've been off for probably 3 weeks. We've had one complaint from a gentleman. We talked to him about it, he understood. So that is being something we're discussing to see what's legal and what's not. So the age of those, I'm afraid that if we work on them, then an issue. So would be that those are gonna go away and we'll have to try to, there will be no playground structure there except for one slide. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know. I know there was plans to do a whole bunch there, but that's a lot of money. We did trim the trees quite a bit on Sixth Street all around the park, which really cleaned it up a lot. And I'm glad to see that we have St. Helens Youth Football is going to be using that field for practice instead of it just sitting there being a field the rest of the year. That's a good thing, I think. We installed all new working timers in all the bathrooms. We had issues with those, so those are all working fine. 13 nights at McCormick seems to be going pretty well. It's fairly simple. People seem to be enjoying it. I know people loved it down here and there's a lot of controversy, but it seemed to be working somewhat at the park. We haven't had any big issues, thank God. And other than that, PUD will be replacing a light bulb. We had one light bulb burn out this year for the lights for the softball field, so they're replacing that tomorrow. And the fall leagues at McCormick and at Campbell, one starts today, the other starts tomorrow, so softball's in full effect. Other than that, we're doing a lot of mowing.
Thank you, Buck. Councilors report. You're on, Brandon.
All right. Just wanted to thank you guys and thank our parks crew for all the good work that you're doing. And also wanted to mention 13 nights. I think it's been great to have the opportunity to highlight McCormick Park a little bit and show it off. And if you haven't been, there's a few more chances to get down there and see everybody enjoying it. Again, it seems to be going pretty well, pretty smoothly. And I was a little surprised about all the people that have reached out to me and said, please keep it here. People like the location, they like the playground, they like the parking. So I think as far as I know, the intention is to take it back to the river next year, but I don't see a reason why we couldn't have some concerts there or different events there now that we know that it's an option and people enjoy it. I think that's all I've got though, unless you guys have any questions for me.
No, I went down there once and I liked that. It was better than I had anticipated. I was thinking, I was kind of entrenched in the having a Columbia view. I was pleasantly surprised that you kind of liked it there.
Probably not as windy, a little
Yeah.
warmer.
Yeah.
People have said they like the sound and they really like being able to spread out more than they're able to do down in the amphitheater.
In the shade. Sometimes it gets
Yep.
right in the sun.
I think the memorial looks nice too, with the new addition. I think it looks pretty cool and I'm glad a lot more people see that.
And it gives people in a different part of town walkability to an event where, you know, people up there, they'd have to drive down here. But now we gotta drive there, but it should be an equal 50-50 thing that you should have some events that go on in your neighborhood.
Okay, well, thank you, Brandon. We're on to discussion items. What do you have to discuss?
I'll do mine as quickly as I can. We'll see.
33, 32, 30,
We'll see if it gets
29.
better by next month. I wanted to just bring attention to that right now. We have a terrible case of microplastics being put into our environment. Over half a mile of our fence out here that's put up for this stuff is degrading and breaking up into microplastics on the riverfront. There's could be up to a half a mile of that fencing. It's breaking up. It's small, quarter of an inch in size. I hear that they may be talking to the contractor about a little bit, but I'm also very concerned that they're not going to be probably that interested to pick up pieces that are like quarter of an inch in size. So I want to wait probably and see what goes on between now and our next meeting and see maybe if we don't have to say that we're concerned about it or something, and or I'd like to start possibly proposing. I don't know if we could go on one side of the fence, but at least on the side where we're permitted to be, even though there's no fence there because it's all rotting away. Could we start doing cleanups in that area to go after the microplastic that is being left behind by the construction fence out there? But we've got over half a mile of fence that's breaking down. They've so far cleaned up some of it. We just take it, put it in a pile here and there so it can continue to decompose right next to the river.
Did you want me to look into it, see if we can do a cleanup there?
I'm thinking we should.
Okay, can you email me then with that?
We could also do a cleanup through Solve. I'm a Solve captain, so if we want to set up something on their website, that's something we can also look into. Unless you just want to do it only Parks and Trail.
Let's see what goes on in the next few days, because I've heard that they may have.
Scheduled to be replaced.
Okay,
The
good.
question is how much they pick up of the old stuff, and then from there we can go if we really need to go over it with a more fine tooth comb than what they do. So hopefully we'll know more in the next week or two or something. Okay.
Anybody else on the discussion?
Yeah, just a reminder that we needed a new parks list, parks that are assigned to people. We need to update it so that Nick and Reed are in there.
I think we've done it since we got the 2 notices.
Yeah. I'm not sure, have they been assigned any of these? Or they've expressed interest, I'll contact them. And so that,
Some reason I thought they did, but it's.
Was interested in the BMX track.
yeah. Reed and
Tell you right now.
Nick, can you email you're interested in which parks you're interested in? For assignment?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
Yeah, I can do that. Yep.
all right, thank you.
McCormick Reed. No.
Other discussions, nothing, anybody else?
I did find out it's September 4th, the work
Okay.
session.
September 4th.
And I have something. When I was doing this before, November's meeting fell on Veterans Day 2 years in a row. And you guys had decided just to quit having November meetings just to get a break for the holiday. This year it falls on Veterans Day again. So what do you want to do?
So we had
We
discussed
did, the
that
bylaws
prior.
Changed and I had to give Kathy a date and she says, why not just the next Monday? So we made it the 18th.
Okay.
Because November 18th. Be the next week.
All right, I just have one thing. I just want to give a shout out to Dana for doing the Citizens Day, short notice. She did great. I just want to say that. Anybody else?
We all did great out since.
I know, everybody showed up in full force and excitement. We had a lot of good time and a lot of interest and
It was nice having.
you were there in spirit, I know.
All right.
I do, so no.
No, we are done now. Jerry.
Are we gonna have a
Sorry.
meeting in November or not?
Yes,
November
on the
18th.
November 18th, so I'll do Botanical Gardens.
Okay.
I didn't. Since I have Godfrey Park all by myself. God. Okay, yeah, I can do both of them then. Okay.
Oh, real quick, pamphlets. I had Buck helped get a
Oh, the
load of pamphlets printed out. and so-
400?
Yeah, so I have a stack of some folded and some not folded pamphlets at my house right now. And so if you guys want any pamphlets, please let me know. And then if you want to help fold some pamphlets, please let me know and I can bring a whole stack to our next meeting.
I would like.
Bring it next week, hold them while we have our meeting.
Great, I'll bring you a whole stack on Wednesday.
They can be unfolded.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm going.
I just want to thank everybody for being so well behaved with my first chair here, so. Yeah, sorry if you know.
6 minutes.
Adjourn it.
Sorry, but I'm gonna blame Steve Toskey.
On me.
So. All right, we'll call this to be adjourned. Thanks, everybody.